Buzzword, network orchestration tools. Find out what that means next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
That's right. If you've been hearing the terms like Ansible, Chef, Puppet, and they're not exactly what you're envisioning, you're in the right place. We are taking a look at the idea of orchestration tools, and here to help us out is going to be Anthony Sequeira. All right, Anthony. Now, these particular terms that they're actually using, and the term orchestration tool, at least maybe for somebody coming from the CCNA perspective, they're still wondering why do I care about orchestration tools? I know the command line. Why the heck do I care?
Yeah, and another one that I get a lot is automation and orchestration.
Yeah.
They're the same thing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are not the same thing. They're totally related. Automation, we tend to boil that down now to a particular task. So think of the automation as like the building blocks. You're automating these individual tasks. Now, when you have a big process that takes a whole bunch of tasks to complete, then orchestration is scheduling and building in fault tolerance. And what are you going to do if a task doesn't complete that other ones depend on? That's orchestration. So it is really taking the automation and allowing it to be orchestrated. It's a great word when you think of it that way. So as Ronnie indicated, there are some classic tools, and I want to say right up front in this episode that Ronnie and I do not endorse any one of these particular tools. I'm going to demonstrate Ansible. It's just because that is the one I happen to be familiar with. They're all great. Ronnie and I do not want to get hate mail from Puppet people or Chef people or SaltStack people. We're not endorsing any one particular tool here. We're just here to give you information about all of them. You make your own choice. And by the way, you know how that goes. If someone's super skilled in like Chef, they're going to be telling you that Chef is the tool that's the best one. That's how that kind of tends to work. Well, I shouldn't have brought up Chef as an example because we're going to start with Puppet. So let's look at Puppet. A lot of these kind of high-level points that I'm giving you apply to all of them. For instance, Puppet allows you to automate the entire life cycle of your widget. Well, guess what? You could make that argument for Chef, Ansible, SaltStack, so keep that in mind. I love this terminology. There is a Puppet master and a Puppet agent. And what that tells you right off the bat is that this is an agent-based type of technology. Now, Ansible, as we'll see, does not use an agent concept. There is nothing you have to install on the node that you're wanting to manage. And the Ansible fanboys always go, yeah, we're agentless. We're the coolest. But, you know, you could definitely argue, well, with Puppet, you get more like intense things you're able to do because there is an agent out there. So there's always a sound argument for one side or the other, I think. There's the Puppet console. That's where you're going to be working in. There's a Puppet database called PuppetDB for storing all this great information that makes this system work. There's modules. Inside those modules, there's things like templates and files. And I have a word written here, so I didn't forget to bring it up. This is technology that is based on Ruby. And I believe, yeah, Chef is as well. And then what's interesting is the other two orchestration tools we're going to discuss, SaltStack and Ansible, those are based on Python. So that's another like point of contention between the factions that argue for these different tools. And hey, I need to make this clear. I've seen enterprises that are using multiple of these tools for different purposes. So you could always run into that as well. Before I get into Chef and we start looking at how it's the same and how it's different and stuff like that, I do want to back up for a second too on this topic. Orchestration is so sought after now that we're getting it, Ronnie, in all kinds of aspects of what we do. It used to be for the longest time like us network engineers were like, oh, okay, let's orchestrate the maintenance of like VLANs and all that kind of stuff. But now it's like, oh my gosh, we can orchestrate cloud, we can orchestrate security, we can orchestrate infrastructure, we can orchestrate access layer functions. So this is just getting more and more popular all of the time. So Ronnie, Chef, one of the things I love about Chef is the name.
Right.
I also love the fact that we have cookbooks, and the cookbooks are sophisticated orchestration instructions that are composed of recipes. How great is that? Again, just a reminder for myself that this is technology that is based on Ruby. The next oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I didn't want to forget this. Chef is super interesting in that there's Chef Solo, where you can run everything on one node. There's Chef Client Server, and there's hosted Chef for cloud environments, and private Chef, which is like a private cloud implementation. So Chef is very unique. It's almost like they were like, oh yeah, Ansible, you're agentless? Okay, well, guess what? We'll invent Chef Solo, and that way we can be agentless too. Now, if you were in an exam environment and they said something like, which is the agentless technology, and Chef was there and Puppet was there and Ansible was there, you're going to pick Ansible. Don't get in that trap of, well, there's Chef Solo. So if you're using Chef Solo, it would be agentless technology. Be careful. The exam, when they say Chef, they're not talking about the Chef Solo variation. Well, Ronnie, one more last one to talk about before I do a little Ansible demonstration. And if you've never seen any of these tools, I think you'll enjoy that. But it's SaltStack. SaltStack is the pure open standard play here. There isn't a company selling this like you have with the, vehemency of like Puppet and Chef. There's probably like support you can buy with SaltStack or something like that, but the product itself is open source. It's built with Python. There are what are called salt formulas to get stuff done with. And then I love this terminology. There's masters and minions. And
so that's like the server agent type of environment.
That's right. Yeah, actually, let me explain that. Yeah. Okay, so when we said like the Puppet master and the Puppet agent, what that is referring to is what I always use in Ansible terms. I think in Ansible terms, there's a control node. Right. There's a device that's going to manage stuff. And then there's the nodes we're managing.
Right.
In Ansible, we call those the hosts. But here they're saying, okay, there's the master and the minion. So there's the management device that we're working on, and it's sending commands, Ronnie, and automation tasks to the minions that are controlled by the software. So great question. Pillars and grains, here is the analogy that is used instead of like cookbook and recipe. It's almost like there was a competition to come up with the most clever naming and analogies. And guess what SaltStack did? They said, okay, Ansible, we're not going to let you have all the fun. We're going to do a server-only version ourselves with no client piece, and that's called SaltStack SSH. And it's really interesting that they chose SSH because that's an Ansible thing. Ansible doesn't use an agent out on the nodes that it's managing. It just needs SSH to get into those devices securely and work its magic. So I think we're ready for a little demonstration of Ansible. Let me jump to the command line here and bring that up for you. And what we're going to see is that I've got two tabs here, Ronnie. I've got tab number one, that is the control node. And then I've got tab number two, that is the device that we want to manage. And just so you know how I did this, in case you're interested, I have Amazon Web Services here, Ronnie. And what I did was I went in to AWS and I created an Ansible host that I will be managing, and I created the control node that will manage the Ansible host. If you're interested in building this, go ahead and do a search on my name in YouTube, Anthony Sequeira. That's Sequeira. And I could hear the producer laughing out there. And why you would do a search on my name in YouTube is because I did a couple of videos, Ronnie, there on how I set this up. Nice. So I teach you, how to, for free, build an Ansible practice lab if you're interested. Okay, so, one more thing. We have incredible Ansible training here at IT Pro TV, compliments of Justin Dennison, and I think he did it with Daniel Lowry. So check that out. Killer Ansible training. All right, so I created these little gadgets inside of Amazon Web Services. We are now at the node that is running Ansible. It is our control node, we call it. And one thing you would probably want to do is you would probably want to verify that Ansible is happy before you try and use it. And we see that we're running Ansible 2420. You can see that our configuration file is located in its default location. Where's the executable? It's built on Python. We've got version 2.7.5, all that fun stuff. Now, the next thing I would do with Ansible in the real world is I would go, okay, is it set up? Is the networking in place, behind the scenes to allow it to contact the node that it's going to control? And so they gave us a ping module. How fun is that? They gave us a little ping chunk of code that we can automate. It's probably the only module in all of Ansible that I could have written, because ping certainly is not that complicated. But watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, let's go see if we can communicate properly over the network with our 10.0.1.170. That's the device we want to control with Ansible. And I'm going to say, use the ping module. And it says, okay, we'll run the ping module against that system. Green is good. Red in Ansible is bad. Imagine that. So let me zoom in correctly on that. Ronnie taught me how to zoom. So there you go. We see the output 10.0.1.170 success. Did Ansible change anything on the client? No. And did the ping succeed? Yes, because Ansible set the ping response or the value to Pong. They're having a little fun there, I guess. So very, very cool. We can reach that device. By the way, do you notice what format that's in?
It looks like a JSON format.
That is JSON. That's right. So there's the opening curly brace, and then we have our key and our value, and that's our Boolean. And then we can see this one is a string value of Pong. So very, very interesting that JSON rears its head. In Ansible, just like in SaltStack, we can construct what are called playbooks in Ansible. And in SaltStack, we have those pillars and pillars. And then the instructions inside are grains. Those are YAML. So you can construct that stuff in YAML. And what's cool is inputs and outputs are JSON. So it's all very, very easy to work with. Languages, or not languages. Ronnie taught me not to say languages. Data representation formats. Good save, right, Ronnie?
Yeah.
All right, so let's do something a little more exciting. My gosh, I'm boring myself with this demonstration. I apologize, audience. Whoa, I did a ping. I automated a ping, Ronnie.
You did.
All right, let's do something much, much cooler. So right here, I have some what are called ad hoc commands. Watch this. I'm going to grab an ad hoc command. And all the ad hoc command means is that it's not in a big fancy playbook. I'm just doing a one-off. I'm just firing off a command ad hoc. I'm going to go and I'm going to paste that in, and then I'll show you the full command. It begins Ansible, and then, I don't know what happened to the A. There we go. And then there's this word multi here. That was a group I was using of hosts. So I was using this against a whole fleet of devices that I had named multi. We're not doing that. In my little demo, we just have one machine out there we're controlling. So I'll put in its IP address. The -B means we want to become the root user. So that's like doing a sudo in Linux. And then we're going to run the yum module because we are going to make sure the NTP service is installed.
Okay.
If it's not, this module will install it.
All
How
right.
cool is that? So this does a whole bunch of automation for us in this one easy string. It's going to look for NTP. If it's not there, install it. I'm going to hit go. In other words, carriage return. See all this yellow text? That's not bad. That's giving me the results of what happened, and I can already tell you NTP wasn't there. And look, here's our confirmation. Changed is now true. It had to actually change something on the node it's managing because NTP wasn't there. And then you can see the results right here where it installed NTP. Now, this is where Ansible and all these tools get really cool. You can fire things off like this as many times as you want and you never break anything. It's called indemnipotence. I can never
Idempotent.
Idempotent. Ronnie is so smart, it actually aggravates me sometimes. Can you say that one more time? Because I cannot pronounce it.
Idempotent.
Idempotent. You made it sound so easy. So when we have something that has the quality that Ronnie said, you can run this process against it and not break anything. So watch this. I'm going to up arrow, and you would think that this is going to break because NTP is already there now. Oh no, it just seamlessly deals with it. And it says changed false. It says NTP is already installed, and it reports back to us the version.
Yeah, this is actually a really important process because a lot of times you don't know if you already ran it. So by
That's
accident,
right.
you might have run it, and then depending on what you run, you might run it again and it actually breaks stuff. And that's the kind of key.
That's
but
right.
Being idempotent, it doesn't matter. It actually does check and go, it's installed, and I don't have to run it again.
Yeah. And could you stop using the word now in front of me? Because now you're
Which
just
one?
showing off in front of me. The one I can't say.
Oh, idempotent?
Oh, no, he said it again. So, yeah, very cool. Also,
Yeah.
Ronnie, you know what I just remembered that's cool about this is that I love what you said there, that like it's not going to break stuff. But the other thing about this is it's helping to keep our environment at the baseline.
Yep.
Right? So if we have a requirement that it has to be a certain version of the NTP service and someone messes with that, Ansible could be in charge of ripping that version out and getting us back to the correct version. Let's run one more just because it'll be fun. In this one, we make sure, Roddy, that the NTP service is started.
Right.
And if it isn't, we don't mess around with anything. We just report, if it isn't started, we make sure it's started. And then again, if this was to run over and over again, it wouldn't do any harm. It would just say, hey, it started. No problem. Let's try it. Oh, I got to correct the multi because we don't have a group out there called multi. We have an IP address that I'm using. So I'm going to say 10.0.1.170. And as you guess, you would never be doing this with your real Ansible. You would have essentially a host file. It's called the inventory file, but it's just like a host file that would be pulling that information in for you. Let's run this and make sure the NTP, look at that. I bet you it wasn't running and we just started it. Let's check. So we come up here. Oh no, look,
No, it
Oh,
changed
yeah,
it
yeah,
to true.
right there. Okay, I was looking at the wrong one. Yep, right here. So changed is true. It went in and it enabled it. So NTP is now running. Let me run that one again. And I would think that it would say, no problem. It was already running. And that is going to be right here. Did it change anything? It did not, because it was already running.
Yeah.
So it's just really cool, this level of automation with this tool.
Yeah, this particular tool, it actually does something a little bit different than Puppet and Chef do as well. And the very fact that it actually uses a different model of doing this, right? The idea of push versus pull models, correct?
Yeah. Talk to me about that, because I'll be honest with you, I still don't get it.
Yeah, the idea here is what we talked about, right? So as you run something in Ansible, it actually checks first. It says, hey, let me get the information from you, and then it actually knows what to do. Whereas with the,
I finally get it.
Yeah.
I'm not kidding. You were talking to me about push and pull, and I was like, I don't think I get it. Whatever. But I want to get it.
Yeah.
And now I completely see. So let me see if I get this right. So Ansible goes out, gets that info with a pull, and then decides if it needs to do anything.
Right.
Chef would be like, here you go.
Right.
Just push it down without that
Yeah,
inquiry, if you will.
Yeah, or it's the other way, that where the actual agent actually just pushes this information saying, I've already got this if I need to. So it can happen in that way as well. But this is actually kind of neat that that you have that ability, and it depends on what you need. So normally with an agent, you have to do a push. You have to say, hey, I'm about to try something, and then it sends you the information. No, you don't have to try that. Whereas with this one, though, it actually says, let me check, see what's going on, and then it can actually do what it needs to.
That's very, very cool. Now, I'm going to bring up, in Corolla, you can just stay on me because I'm in my personal laptop right now. And who knows what might display. But I'm just going to bring something up right now. I just decided to do this last minute because I really think we should, Ronnie. What I'm going to bring up for everybody to see here in a moment is an example of a playbook.
Right.
Because those little ad hoc commands, that's cool and fun and all that. But let's face it, it's not really all that exciting once you start playing with this tool. So I've got it now, Corolla, thank you. We are now looking at a playbook. Let me make that even bigger. And Ronnie taught me how to do this. There we go. So, and forgive me, it's a little blurry, but like I said, this was a last minute thing. I just decided I really wanted to show you this. So this is like what a playbook looks like in Ansible, and you get more sophisticated and do some really cool stuff. Notice this is written in YAML. So this is a YAML playbook, and note that we're doing things like updating the SSH configuration to be more secure. And you can see the parameters that we use to do that. We turn off password authentication on the Linux box. We don't permit the root to log in. And then here we are like, restarting the SSH service after we make those manipulations to the SSH service. Then we go in and we remove unused packages from the Linux box. Another great security step. Then we go in and we configure a GitLab global configuration file. And then we go in and we make sure that we are updating the software for our web servers group. And then we do a cron job. And then we manipulate the firewall on the device. I'll stop now. You get the idea. This is a playbook that we could run against our fleet of Linux boxes out there, and it makes sure they are as secure as possible. So that's the level of automation that we're talking about here. And I have given examples of managing Linux devices in this entire episode. Just remember, these could be our Cisco devices, as all of the tools we've mentioned do now work with many of our Cisco devices as far as automating them go. All of these tools I've described, however, they're all primarily used in the industry for managing Linux boxes. But we know there's exceptions, and Cisco devices would be one of them.
Yeah, so as we start to take a look at these particular ideas here in terms of orchestration, this is probably one of the concepts that you'll have to take a bit of time in making sure that you can wrap your head around it. Now, as far as the push and pull models that I was saying, I want to make sure I was saying it right here. So I think I did get it right, but it could be the opposite way. In other words, the actual client itself is actually pulling the information down from Ansible as well. So it is possible that that can be happening too. So I may be wrong, so you may want to check on that just in case.
Yeah, and what can we do about that, Ronnie? Like, once you and I nail that down, and it's super confusing, and I wish they wouldn't even refer to this whole push-pull thing, because it doesn't seem all that necessary, but could we add those in the show notes?
Sure. Yep, we'll add them in the show notes.
Well, yeah, then, if you're interested in that little nuance of, hey, is it push or pull, then we'll make sure we got that perfectly correct, and we'll put it in the show notes.
All right. All right, well, that's enough for us right here at IT Pro TV, so we're going to go ahead and sign off. So signing off right here, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more of your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.